Making headlines tonight. Prime Minister Hun Sen encourages investors and leaders to prioritise digital government development and green industry revolution as he speaks at the first Asia-Europe Economic and Business Forum. Vietnamese and French ambassadors visit Prime Minister Hun Sen. Border agreement discussed with Vietnam while France applauds Cambodia's vaccination success. The royal government of Cambodia has participated in an international conference aimed to protect and respect the rights of women and persons with disabilities. Cambodia has been chosen to host the AFF U23 Championship 2022, the first international sports competition that will be held at the newly built Monodoc Daegu National Stadium. Roads turn red as red crabs begin their annual epic migration to sea on Christmas Island, an Australian external territory. This is the Daily Roundup on the EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. My name is Paolo Bonini. Prime Minister Hun Sen has encouraged investors and worldwide leaders to prioritise the development of digital government and the green industry revolution. The Cambodian Prime Minister delivered a speech during the first Asia-Europe Economic and Business Forum, hosted by the Kingdom of Cambodia on Wednesday. The Prime Minister has also acknowledged the cooperation between the Asian and European regions, emphasising the contribution of people-to-people relationships and the development of economic ties. EAC news reporter Ria Soka has the story.
The first Asia-Europe Economic and Business Forum is another side event of the 13th Asia-Europe meeting, which will be hosted by Cambodia from Thursday to Friday. The Business Forum is being held under the theme, Transitioning to a New Normal, Leveraging Global Value Change, Multilateralism, and the 4IR. It serves as a new milestone to reinvigorate the inclusive growth of Asia and Europe as the world shifts into the so-called new normal of the post-COVID-19 recovery. During his speech, Prime Minister Hun Sen says the royal government of Cambodia is honored and proud to organize this first forum. He says it is significant to investors to identify and explore new business and trade opportunities and to strengthen cooperation between public and private sectors, especially to exchange views. He has added that the theme, Leveraging Global Change, Multilateralism, and the Fourth Industrial Revolution aimed at promoting business investment activities and social economic development in the new normal. The Prime Minister has shared his views on what are the issues needed to pay attention in order to restore social economic development, such as new normal adaptations in the context of COVID-19, strengthening unity, adhering to multilateral mechanism and trade system, advancement of digitalization, enhancing bilateral and multilateral cooperation, as well as the promotion of green industry revolution.
Promoting green development is also a foundation to support the long-term socio-economic development, which will enhance economic efficiencies and strengthen climate resiliency. In this regard, we must strengthen and expand regional and global cooperation to promote green development, in particular, encouraging the private sectors to increase green investment, improving investment efficiencies in all relevant sectors, and promoting green industry revolution and green technologies adoption.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has also taken the chance to share Cambodia's COVID-19 situation and how the government managed to control the pandemic.
With good control of COVID-19 situation, as of November 18, 2021, the royal government has achieved a vaccination rate of more than 88% of the total population of 16 million. In addition, the royal government of Cambodia has been formulating and implementing concrete policies measures to attract additional foreign investment by building infrastructures and improving the transportation system, both soft and hard, improving trade facilitation, developing human resources, setting up IT and digital systems, as well as developing financial sectors.
The Prime Minister has highlighted the royal government's effort in expanding wider exporting market by establishing various free trade agreements such as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the free trade agreements with China and Korea, which will take effect soon. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has received a visit from the newly appointed Vietnamese ambassador Nguyen Hoi Tang on Wednesday at the Peace Palace. The two discussed the cooperation between the two nations, especially the border issues. Prime Minister Hun Sen has urged Vietnam through its ambassador in the kingdom to establish a border agricultural agreement. EAC News reporter Ria Soka has the story.
Early morning courtesy visit was received by Prime Minister Hun Sen from Vietnamese Ambassador Nguyen Hoi Tang on Wednesday. One of the important topics discussed during their meeting was the agricultural situation in the border. Prime Minister's personal assistant Ieng Supalet says Prime Minister Hun Sen has encouraged Ambassador Nguyen Hoi Tang to pay more attention on increasing the trade volume of the two countries. With his desire to increase the volume of trade, Prime Minister Hun Sen wants to establish an agreement in the border's agricultural sector. The Prime Minister specifies about the supply of raw materials, the development and supply of seeds, the use of water along the border, and the fight against pests. On the other side, Vietnamese Ambassador Nguyen Hoi Tang has thanked Prime Minister Hun Sen for the support Vietnam has received from Cambodia, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. He has also committed to work hard with his diplomatic mission in the kingdom to improve Cambodia-Vietnam relations through diplomacy, politics, security, defense, trade, investment, economy, agriculture, COVID-19 fight, and other sectors. Reyes Soko, EAC News.
Yet more praise for Cambodia's fight against the pandemic. Prime Minister Hun Sen has received a courtesy visit from French Ambassador to Cambodia, Jacques Pellet, on Wednesday. The ambassador has conveyed to Prime Minister Hun Sen that the French government praises Cambodia for its continued development in the country, despite the COVID-19 pandemic. The French ambassador has congratulated the Prime Minister for leading the Kingdom of Cambodia to great development at this time. He has also praised Cambodia's rapid vaccination policy, which prevented the spread of COVID-19 and led to the full reopening of the country. Another success brought by Cambodia's vaccination is the reopening of the economy, schools and businesses throughout the country. Ambassador Pellet has told Prime Minister Hun Sen how happy are the 400 French companies for Cambodia's vaccination success. He says the success leads to improved economic and trade activity. The ambassador has also informed Prime Minister Hun Sen that the French President Emmanuel Macron will attend the Asia-European Summit, which Cambodia is hosting on Thursday and Friday. Prime Minister Hun Sen has warmly welcomed the French ambassador and congratulated him on his diplomatic mission in the kingdom. The Prime Minister has also agreed with the ambassador's point on strengthening of cooperation between Cambodia and France, as well as the strengthening of cooperation in various international frameworks. The Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation has started the Gender Equality Training Course on Tuesday. The two-day training course is aimed at helping women in crisis, demonstrating the royal government's commitment to gender equality, including persons with disabilities. EAC News reporter Dashani Gochan has the story.
Speaking on behalf of the minister, Mosfi Secretary of State M. Chan Makara says the current training reflects the continued commitment of the ministries, institutions, and partner organizations to address gender equality and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. He has commended the collaborative effort made by the General Secretariat of the Disability Action Council, the Social Welfare Department of the Ministry of Social Affairs, and Cambodian organizations that support women in crises to organize this important training course.
We are currently facing two of the biggest challenges of our generation. First, the epidemic of COVID-19 and its aftermath, and second, the ongoing climate change crisis. Both of these crises are that women are disproportionately affected. Since the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, the royal government of Cambodia, under the wise leadership of Prime Minister Hun Sen, has responded effectively in providing emergency assistance, order urgent medical equipment and supplies, including rapid test kits, the provision of COVID-19 vaccine, treatment, and ensure a public health management system for all people, especially pregnant women and girls with disabilities.
M. Chan Makara stresses that the burden of unpaid work falls on the shoulders of women. He has revealed that 59% of women reported spending more time on household chores since the COVID-19 outbreak began. He says these women are facing 2/3 of all job losses and has added that the most affected are young women who raise young children. M. Chan Makara has also expressed deep gratitude to the Australian government through the Australian Embassy in Cambodia for establishing the Australia-Cambodia Cooperation for Sustainable and Equitable Services program, which implements both gender and disability programs in the country with remarkable success. He has emphasized that the Ministry of Social Affairs remains fully committed to helping achieve the ambitious Sustainable Development Goals, including gender equality, reproductive health issues, women's leadership, and strengthening women's resilience through social protection. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Swedish Embassy in Cambodia has pledged to support the employment of persons with disabilities within the kingdom. The Ministry of Labour and Vocational Training has met with the Swedish First Secretary in Cambodia on Tuesday. The two officials have discussed stepping up the cooperation between Cambodia and Sweden, especially in the employment sector. Swedish First Secretary Magnus Sanderson has pledged to Minister of Labour Is Sam Heng to establish at least one job centre in all 25 capitals and provinces in the Kingdom of Cambodia. The Swedish government aims to support the employment of persons with disabilities in Cambodia under the project Labour Market for All People, supporting disabled job seekers. The project was created 2 months ago by the Royal Government of Cambodia in collaboration with Sweden, non-government organisations and the United Nations. The minister has stressed that Cambodia has started to reopen the country to restore the nation's economy for further development and progress, thus creating conditions for the lives of the people to be better in the new normal trajectory. Samuelson has expressed his belief that the project will expand the scope of people to find employment opportunities and provide labour to meet the needs of institutions, companies, factories, enterprises for their production chain. He has vowed that the Swedish government will continue to support the Royal Government of Cambodia. Currently, the project has established 13 job centres and 3 mobility job centres throughout the country. Cambodia's Ministry of Interior and the Laos Ministry of Public Security have met virtually on Monday to sign a memorandum of understanding on security cooperation for 2022. Under this contract, the two countries agreed to enhance and strengthen cooperation on criminal activities across the borders, including the continued suppression of drug trafficking. EAC News reporter Darshana Gochan has more.
The Cambodian Minister of Interior, Saw King, met with the Laotian Minister of Public Security, Lieutenant General Ville Lakamphong, through a virtual conference on Monday. They have signed a security cooperation agreement for 2022. With this MOU, Cambodia and Laos have agreed to continue fostering links between the two countries and to strengthen security across the border to combat and address cross-border crimes such as drug trafficking, smuggling, illegal deforestation, poaching, and illegal hunting. The transit of people across the border was also highlighted as a key part of the security cooperation. Both countries agreed to continue monitoring and facilitating safe and legal transit across the border, in accordance with respective country laws and procedures. This includes the supervision of matters such as cross-border trade and tourism exchange. At the meeting, the two ministers shared words of praise on the level of good relations between Cambodia and Laos, and pledged to continue moving forward with the same cooperative spirit of friendship, solidarity, good neighborliness, and mutual respect for sovereignty. The ministers also commended the mutual support of Cambodian and Laotian authorities and law enforcement officers stationed at the border, who continue to do good work despite the difficult situation brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
The Royal Government of Cambodia has participated in an international virtual conference on the prevention of violence against women with disabilities on Wednesday. It was hosted by ADD International Cambodia, promoting the rights of women with disabilities. The two-day webinar envisions women with disabilities to be respected by promoting opportunities to free them from poverty and to protect them from gender violence. EAC News reporter Yuri Matosko has the details.
The international conference was participated by leaders from different parts of the world, including the USA, the United Kingdom, and a number of countries in Africa. Director of the General Social Development Department, Ieng So Chiatra, is one of the representatives from Cambodia, expressing the royal government's support to protect the women's rights, especially those with disabilities. Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Secretary General of the General Secretariat of the Council for Disability Action, Chan Makara, has also delivered a message saying that violence against women and girls with disabilities is a global concern that carries negative economic, social, and health consequences for women and their families. He says girls with disabilities who witness domestic violence are found to have an increased risk of psychological and behavioral problems, calling everyone to work together in order to avoid physical, sexual, economic, or psychological harm to women or girls with disabilities. Makara has stressed that Cambodia is committed to build the necessary foundations for the successful implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, enhancing access to social, economic, and material support, and increasing prevention of vulnerabilities for violence and exploitation. Makara has urged national and international development partners to cooperate and set objectives for the National Strategic Plan on Disability 2019-2021, as well as the Phase 3 of the National Action Plan on Prevention of Violence Women 2019-2023. UN Women Regional Coordination for Bangkok, Sarak Nibs, has also spoken, stressing that women empowering needs to be aligned with building capacity inside the communities, so women with disability can be inserted at the local economy free from any discrimination. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
For 3 consecutive days, Cambodia's daily COVID-19 numbers remain in the 30s, making the kingdom ready for a post-COVID recovery. As of Wednesday, only 34 new cases were recorded. That includes 6 imported cases. Cambodia now has a total tally of 119,977. 37 patients were successfully treated and dispatched overnight. They make the total recovery 116,357. But unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives, with 3 of them being unvaccinated citizens. Cambodia's total death since the beginning of the pandemic now stands at 2,914. The kingdom's active cases have dropped to 706. After nearly 100 vendors from Bangkok market staged a protest against its demolition on Monday, Battambang Provincial Governor Suk Lu has met with the protesters on Tuesday evening to hear their concerns. The protesting market vendors are unhappy with the relocation notice asking them to move their shops to a new location which they see as being unfavourable for their business. EAC News reporter Dashani Gochan has the story.
On Tuesday evening, Governor Soklu met with a group of nearly 100 Bangkok market vendors who were protesting their relocation. The market vendors reported receiving a relocation notice from the provincial administration. The governor has confirmed the project to reorganize the space around Bangkok Market from 25th November, and this is the city and provincial expert committee's response to complaints from over 70 families living in the area. The complaints noted that market stalls located in front of residences block traffic and make it impossible for cars and bikes to smoothly pass through. The governor listened to the pleas of the market vendors for nearly an hour and then asked for their understanding, as the authorities cannot provide a solution that only has one-sided benefits. He expressed the necessity to find a central solution that would be agreeable to both market sellers and apartment residents. He has said that the road space taken by market stalls must be adjusted from 8 to 20 meters in order to benefit both parties. Governor Soklu has promised to send professional officers to re-inspect and reassess the market area. Market vendors have agreed to temporarily accept this proposed solution and move back to their homes. The vendors now await the provincial government's re-inspection and formulation of a new agreement that is more beneficial to all parties. Darshana Gauchen, EAC News.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports has announced that the school year for public school will end on the 18th of December, and all educational institutions must prepare for the second semester exam before the end of the school year. A notice released on Tuesday, high school diploma exams will take place on the 27th and the 28th of December. EAC News reporter Yuri Matusko has the details.
After a turbulent year with schools being closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, students are finally notified when classes will be over. According to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, the school year is scheduled to be over on 18 December. It has been also announced that all schools must have their second semester exam before the last day of school, which gives students less than a month for preparing for their last exam of the year. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Education has also announced the official date for the high school diploma exams, commonly known as diploma, set to 27 and 28 of December. The ministry has ensured that all designated exam centers will have a team of doctors on duty, making sure the health and safety measures are being followed in order to safeguard all students, invigilators, and committee members from illness. Any students showing symptoms or with a temperature above 37.5 degrees Celsius will be required to take a COVID-19 rapid antigen test. If found positive, the students will not be allowed to take the exam. Additionally, all students that have been in recent contact with a positive case but do not show any symptoms themselves will be allowed to take the exam also in a separate room. A spokesman for the Ministry of Education, Sofia Chia, has confirmed that students who are absent in one or more exam sessions will be disqualified from receiving their diploma. Yuri Matosko, EAC News.
You are watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The murder case of a student in Choi Chongwa district was solved by the Phnom Penh Armed Forces in less than 48 hours. The crime occurred in the early hours last Sunday, in front of the entrance of Dom Saral Market. The victim was identified as a 31-year-old student, Sin Kun, who was killed with a machete. According to witnesses, the suspect immediately fled the crime scene after the murder. The case was initially believed to be a political one. This was after the crime circulated widely on social media and various media outlets. But people had mistakenly thought the victim was an activist of the former CNRP. This was soon dispelled as the true story started to emerge. The Deputy Commander of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, General So Sakar, headed up the investigation, and the perpetrator was arrested within 48 hours. According to the accused, he did not intend to kill the victim, but only wished to scare him. He had a verbal conflict with the victim about being locked out of his home. The dispute escalated, and the perpetrator used a machete to assault the victim, severely wounding him in the leg. He did not realize the victim died from the wound. When he heard of the fatality, he ran, but was soon captured. He awaits sentencing. Since the establishment of dialogue 30 years ago, China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have moved forward, hand in hand, with fruitful results in various fields, becoming a fine example of the most successful and vibrant bilateral relations in the Asia-Pacific. Chairing and addressing the summit via video link on Tuesday, President Xi Jinping has announced the establishment of a comprehensive strategic partnership between China and the 10-member bloc.
According to analysts from ASEAN member nations, the speech of President Xi Jinping at the special summit to commemorate the 30th anniversary of China-ASEAN dialogue relations is going to inject more and stronger impetus into regional and global prosperity. The Chinese president has hailed the good neighborly friendship and win-win cooperation between China and ASEAN over the past 30 years, saying the valuable cooperation experience lays the foundation and provides guidelines for developing their comprehensive strategic partnership. China's leader has stated that the gains in bilateral cooperation are attributable to the unique geographical proximity and cultural affinity, and more importantly, to the fact that both sides have actively embraced the development trend of the times and made the right historic choice. Trade between China and the ASEAN has skyrocketed by 85 times since the two sides established their dialogue relations in 1991. Since 2009, China has remained ASEAN's largest trading partner for 12 consecutive years, while in 2020, ASEAN also became China's largest trading partner. The Director of Academic Affairs at the ASEAN Studies Center, P.T. Sri Sangnam, says the Chinese president's speech was very impressive, pointing out mutual respect, assistance to each other, inclusiveness, as well as mutual learnings. While the former Director, Public Affairs Department of Association of Southeast Asian Nations Secretary Danny Lee Chian Chong also says that China and ASEAN have a very long history of very good relations and, of course, very comprehensive cooperation, and the collaboration is going to be brought up to the next level. China has affirmed its full support and sent ASEAN nations 150 million doses of vaccines for free. That means a faster operation down to the ground, down to the communities that will need it very badly.
来华交流。
Now for a look at news making international headlines this Wednesday, 24th of November.
At least 46 people were killed when a bus with North Macedonian plates has caught fire and crashed on a highway in western Bulgaria on Tuesday. Bulgarian Interior Minister says that people are clustered inside. They are burnt to ash. All the victims need to be identified person by person, which will be very difficult. 7 people who leapt from the burning bus were rushed to the Pergov Emergency Hospital in the Bulgarian capital Sofia and were in stable condition. They had suffered burns and one had a broken leg. They narrated that the bus was packed with tourists who were mostly Macedonian. The bus slammed into a barrier and went up in flames while returning from Istanbul in Turkey to North Macedonia around 2 a.m. on Tuesday. 12 children were among the dead, including twin boys aged 4. Only 4 men and 3 women survived the disaster. The scale of the loss has caused shock and grief in Bulgaria and North Macedonia, where 3 days of national mourning have been declared. Macedonian Prime Minister Zoran Zaev has described the crash as horrifying. It is considered the deadliest bus accident in the Balkan country's history.
A ferry capsized in eastern Sri Lanka on Tuesday, killing at least 6 people as confirmed by the police. 20 people have been rescued, but it's not certain how many people were on the ferry. The boat can carry between 25 to 35 people. 4 children were among the dead and another child is in intensive care. Navy divers have suspended rescue efforts after searching the area of the lagoon where the rudimentary vessel overturned, but will remain on standby. 17 people have been rescued so far. It was not immediately known what caused the ferry to capsize. The ferry was traveling from Kurinchakani to the town of Kenya along the country's eastern coast and about 260 kilometers northeast of the capital, Colombo. Ferry accidents are relatively rare in Sri Lanka because many locations are now connected by bridges. However, the bridge that connects the two towns has been closed for repairs, forcing people to use rudimentary vessels to cross the river.
And at least 2 people lost their lives and 16 were injured in a series of explosions in the storage area of a private rocket manufacturing facility, Serbian turbojet and rocket engine maker EDIPRO, in a southern suburb of Belgrade on Tuesday. Around 40 employees were at the production facility at the time of the explosions. An eyewitness recalls he saw 2 intermittent races in the sky as if someone had actually fired 2 rockets into the air, and between them, a large smoke mushroom cloud. At the same time, he heard 2 explosions as if someone was firing rockets. The smoke mushroom was huge. All the people living in the surrounding houses went outside. 11 firefighting vehicles with 36 officers were sent to the scene and participated in the rescue operation. The firefighters and rescuers have stabilized the situation and are searching the terrain using a drone with thermal imaging equipment to locate any more victims and injured persons. 500 rockets with 30 kilograms of explosive each have been stored inside the facility. In 2008, 3 people were injured in a similar explosion at EDIPRO.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. EAC News' audience is growing. Our YouTube channel has over 150,000 verified subscribers. To mark the milestone, we've received the Silver Creator Award from YouTube. It's given to channels with over 100,000 subscribers. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki says the award celebrates EAC News' hard work and incredible achievement. She says we brought a unique voice and style to the world, but have also created valuable connections and built a community along the way. The next milestone we're going for is 1 million subscribers, and we'd really like that Gold Creator Award. So if you're not already a subscriber, head to YouTube and search for EAC News. Subscribers get alerts when the Daily Roundup is premiering and live events are streaming. Get all the latest breaking news and updates from Cambodia in English. The EAC News channel on YouTube. Cambodia made clear. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. the EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Real Madrid will not be taking anything for granted when they get the chance to exact revenge on Sheriff Tiraspol in their Champions League clash on Wednesday. Madrid's coach says that they would like the opportunity to be able to take revenge, while the Sheriff head coach stresses that they will have prepared well for this match. Real coach Carlo Ancelotti has said his side was stunned when they lost to Sheriff 2-1 at Santiago Bernabeu in September, and that they were looking forward to another shot at the Moldovians.
At this moment, due to the way he plays, he is the most balanced player in football. I think he's unstoppable in one-on-one situations. There are not many players doing this kind of things. This is what I think. Yes, he has to improve because dribbling one-on-one is important in football, but it's not the most important thing. We've prepared well for this match. I hope that tomorrow's match will be interesting and have a good tempo. I hope he will be able to stand our ground against a very strong team. Let's wait for the game and speak tomorrow. I hope we do everything for a positive result.
Real top Group D on 9 points after 4 matches, 2 points above Inter Milan with Sheriff a point further back. The Football Federation of Cambodia has officially announced Cambodia's right to host the AFF U23 Championship 2022 on Wednesday. The match will be held at Morodok Deju National Stadium and the Prince Stadium of Visakar Football Club on February of next year.
The president of the Football Federation of Cambodia, General Sao Sokha, announced with great pleasure that Cambodia will be hosting the Asian Football Federation Under-23 Championship in 2022. He has thanked the Football Federation of Southeast Asia for trusting Cambodia to host this regional event and promised to organize a successful youth competition. The tournament is scheduled to take place from 14 to 26 February in 2022, with 12 AFF members participating from Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Myanmar, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Laos, East Timor, Brunei, and Australia. This is the first official international tournament scheduled to take place at the Morodok Techo National Stadium. Cambodia will also host the 32nd and Southeast Asian Games in 2023 at the country's first modern multi-purpose and international standard sports facility.
The 2 mixed pairs of Chinese and American table tennis players on Monday had their first joint training for the upcoming competitions at the 2021 World Table Tennis Championships in Houston. Before training, the national teams of China and the United States exchanged jerseys. World Table Tennis Chair and President of the Table Tennis Association of China, Liu Zhouchang, says they wish to present the world 2 China-US pairs in mixed doubles at this event, and they would carry on the China-US ping-pong diplomacy. The World Championship is scheduled for the 23rd to the 29th of November. To mark the 50th anniversary of ping-pong diplomacy, the CTTA and the US Table Tennis Association jointly submitted the request to allow China-US pairs to compete with the International Table Tennis Federation.
I think this World Championships in the United States is of unusual meaning, as while it is a World Championships, it also marks the 50th anniversary of ping-pong diplomacy between China and America. Our predecessors laid a solid foundation for the China-US ping-pong diplomacy 50 years ago. Now, how should we sustain it with our action 50 years later? We wish to present the world two China-US pairs in mixed doubles at this event that would carry on the China-US ping-pong diplomacy. I also hope the players will attract more fans and spectators in the two countries to cheer and applaud for them with their superb performances and exquisite skills.
The players said they are excited to play together and will do their best to achieve good results.
This is my first time to pair with a foreigner player, and I think it convenes a signal of friendships between the two countries. I'm very glad to be able to participate in the mixed doubles competition at the World Championships with Lily Zhang. We had a discussion just now and noticed some problems in the training, but we also had good chemistry in many ways. We communicate smoothly as she speaks Chinese, so that's an advantage in our pairing. We look forward to the competitions and we'll try hard to win the games.
I'm super excited and happy to have this opportunity to be able to play with Bulgaria. I think it's such a special moment in history, especially it being, the 50th ping pong diplomacy anniversary, as well as the first ever World Championships in the U.S. I'm so honored and humbled, to be able to have this opportunity. And I think that even though this is our first time ever pairing together, I hope it will be a good result. And, we're going to try our best and fight our hardest.
The 2021 World Table Tennis Championships is the 56th edition of the championship and the first time the competition is held in the United States. A FIFA proposal for a World Cup every 2 years and changes to the Club World Cup could cost the big domestic soccer leagues and the UEFA around $9 billion per season in lost TV rights and commercial agreements. This is according to the report commissioned by the leagues, stating that the frequent international competitions, as well as the additional international club games, could lead to major changes in the national leagues, including a reduction in the number of teams competing in them, a shift from weekend to weekday games, and fewer domestic games.
The report, compiled by consultancy KPMG and FTIS Delta Partners and seen ahead of publication by Reuters, predicted that in addition to cutting club revenue, such a move would hit viewers' interest in games. It says it would also reduce advertiser interest in domestic football and put strains on players, leading to poorer play. President of soccer's world governing body Gianni Infantino has stated last month that FIFA was discussing holding the World Cup every 2 years instead of the current 4-year cycle. Former Arsenal manager and FIFA's head of global development Arsene Wenger has proposed a new calendar which would see a reduction in the number of international breaks for qualifiers, with 1 or 2 longer breaks to compress the qualification process. He suggested holding World Cups in alternate years with continental championships such as the Euros and the Copa America in between. He is also calling for mandatory rest periods to avoid player burnout. However, the idea has run into strong opposition from UEFA, which runs the hugely popular and lucrative Champions League, and from national leagues such as Italy's Serie A, Spain's La Liga, and England's Premier League, which have an enormous global following. UEFA President Alexander Seferin has argued that a more frequent World Cup will dilute its value and harm other competitions. He has threatened to lead a European boycott of an additional World Cup. Wenger, speaking in September, has said that a club football is 80%, national team football is 20%, and he wanted to keep that balance. The report, which also involves the MLS, Mexico, Japan, and South African leagues, as well as the European Big Five, said even the less disruptive options would cost them billions annually. The biggest hit will be to TV revenues. It calculated that the 40 biggest domestic leagues around the world and UEFA club competitions like the Champions League stand to lose as much as €5 billion per season in audiovisual deals alone. More than a third of what the leagues make in TV rights today. The reports will be presented at the World Leagues Forum's annual meeting next week. The 2018 World Cup generated $5.37 billion in revenue for FIFA.
Now let's have a look at the weather and see what you can expect for tomorrow. And finally, roads turn red as bright red crabs begin their annual epic migration to the sea on Christmas Island. Some people get freaked out, while others lay down and let themselves be covered in crabs.
In an annual phenomenon unmatched anywhere in the world, millions of flame red crabs have emerged from the forest on Christmas Island on Tuesday, swarming over roads and beaches on their way to the sea to breed. Every year, the large crabs migrate across the Australian territory in the Indian Ocean, south of Indonesia. Red crabs are endemic to Christmas Island and it is protected by law. They don't occur anywhere else, and the migration of this sort of scale of land crabs doesn't happen anywhere else in the world.
This year's migration has just been absolutely epic. The roads have been a seething mass of red crabs. It's caused traffic jams on this small island and people having to get out of their cars and rake them out the way. So they're all heading towards the coast to mate. And at the moment, the male crabs have returned to the forest. The female crabs are still down near the ocean's edge in burrows, and they're brooding their eggs in preparation for the spawning, which will most likely be this weekend. And at this point, each female crab will enter the water's edge, and she'll deposit approximately 100,000 eggs, which all hatch simultaneously when they enter the water, and then are at the mercy of the currents for 3 to 4 weeks before they return.
He says this is what Christmas Island's all about. The island's community acknowledge just how important red crabs are to the ecosystem, to the economy, and to tourism. They're very vulnerable to being run over by vehicles. Basically, roads on Christmas Island were closed as they turned scarlet with thousands of red crabs emerging from the forest to begin their annual migration journey to the ocean and the island off the coast of Western Australia. The annual migration starts with the first rainfall of the wet season, usually in October or November, but can sometimes be as late as December or January. Red crabs all over the island, up to the millions in numbers, leave their homes at the same time and start marching towards the ocean to mate and spawn, creating a flame red spectacle on the island.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on the EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check out our website, eacnews.asia, or search EAC News on Telegram or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.